Oh God, is that going to be all foam? Oh my God. It's so creamy straight from the tank, like tiny little bubbles. And that kind of strawberry thing from the SARS that we talked about, like, that's what lager's about. Come on, Brad, get yourself one.
The beautiful people of the Czech Republic have drunk more beer per capita than any other nation on earth since 1993. What happened in 1993, you may ask? Well, the country was founded. Beer is such an important part of the Czech Republic's national identity that one of its best breweries is even owned by the state itself. Founded around 1895 in the historic town of České Budějovice, Budvar makes stunning lagers using almost exclusively Czech ingredients. The brewery was even founded in a patriotic act. With the town's main brewing being run by wealthy German citizens, it was built to give local Czechs the chance to own their own beer. Which is why when the Iron Curtain fell in 1991, there were campaigns to ensure that Budvar remained in the hands of the people. Today it brews around 280 million pints of beer a year, and most of that is the fantastic 5% Original, a double decocted all-SARS Pilsner. They also make the 33, a local, more bitter pale lager, as well as the Tmavý Lezák or dark lager, and what Brad and I now refer to as probably the best lager in the world, their wet hopped reserve. More on that beer later. We started with a tour of the beautiful copper brewhouse and ice cold cellars with brand ambassador Radim.
So this is the car park.
This is the car park, yeah. That was the car that had an open window when we were walking in, and it's not there anymore, so seems
That's
like,
no
yeah.
There's a bandstand in the car park.
Yes.
Why?
This one?
Yeah.
So this is the one that was here ever since the brewery started. They just refurbished it, so that's all the sort of events were happening.
Right.
Well,
So this would have been a beer garden.
Yes.
Right.
Pretty much back in the day.
And this is the well.
And this is the well, yeah. So 300 meters deep down underneath the brewery, underneath this place, there's a massive deposit, shall I call it a deposit of water that literally raises up. We just need to help it a little bit. It doesn't need any treatment, it's only filtered through the sand. The water dates back around 10,000 years. Yeah, so the water is the only component of the beer that actually hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So when we talk about hops and barley, yeah, that changes with season. Yeah, it changes like, you know, how much it rains, how much sun it gets, and it changes year on year. That water is the only consistent ingredient in the beer.
And it, you know, water's responsible for dictating, you know, in the Czech Republic and Bavaria we have lager, like that's partly the yeast, but it's also the water. You go to Burton, it's IPA, you go to London, it's porter, because of the water that they had there. So this is the start of
so very soft water
Czech
with low mineral
pills.
content.
Yeah.
And that's what defines the style itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought that would be glass. It's, I was like, what's happening there? I'm a very strong man. Right, so yeah, this is where it all begins.
Shall we have a look at the brew house?
Absolutely, let's do it. Budvar Express, Budvar Express. My kind of truck.
Exciting thing. So there's a train that leaves Prague at 7:08 every day.
Yeah.
And goes to Budweis.
Right.
Yeah, it's called Budvar Express.
There you go.
And you know,
But it carries people, not beer.
It carries people, exactly. But you know what's the beer that is served on board?
Pilsner Urquell.
Exactly. you can get Budvar in bottles. Would like to go through the brewing process?
Hey, well, I mean, what I'm intrigued by. Let's not look at a diagram. Let's go in the warm and learn about it in front of some beautiful copper tanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the best part. Sorry, I always need to do my a day in the office picture.
I mean, it's quite the office.
It's right.
It doesn't get much more beautiful than that. And so, like, you know, this is a commercial industrial space. They don't come this beautiful in many industries, do they?
It's a funny thing when you look at the outside of the building, it's very communist design.
Right, yeah.
So there's all the buildings that were built up between like 50s and 80s, yeah. And you walk inside, you get this like beautiful set of copper brew house that you would not expect to see from the outside.
Yeah.
So I think one of the next steps is as well to make like a nice outside sort of a window that you can see through all the copper.
Yeah.
That's but yeah. So
how long have you been brewing on this site?
on this side,
Yeah.
so ever since, it's
Right,
basically
so 130-ish years.
127 years now. Yeah. So since 1885, we've been brewing on this side. So this is the second brew house. This brew house was built up 1988. The company that actually produced it no longer exists. So if we need to fix something around it, we need to do it ourselves.
Or expand.
Or expand, you never know. Traditionally in Budvar, we've been doing two-step decoction to introduce the bready flavors. They're really well known for Czech lagers. Yeah, so most of the questions that I get to ask, what's the difference between Czech and German lager? It's the breadiness. It's the breadiness that comes from the Maillard reaction in the boiling of the grains. Shall we have a look downstairs?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All of this is basically it's dosed. So this is the way when we go down to the hop storage. That's basically from the massive bales of hops dosed. They need to cut it to small size. So then when the operator is adding the bittering hops, the flavoring hops, and the aroma hops, they know how many of these bags they had to add based on the recipe into a kettle. So this is basically the way of, in a brewery, you would use a scale.
You count the bags.
Yeah, so you know how many bags you, at the end, you need to use. And as you can see, like this is still
big
the whole cons.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's probably.
So literally, look at this here. When you touch it, like all those oils, they stick to your skin.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. That's Zaričko. Oh, bude to tam dávat? Okay. Podržíš to? Alright, so.
Me?
So yeah, it's you. So it's very simple. Yeah. You need to take it around, yeah?
Yeah.
You tip it just over the edge and you need to start to break it down and throwing it in. It's a work, it's a labor. Yeah, and you need to make sure you break it. There you go, I'll hold it with you.
So if there's a batch with low utilization of the hops, that's my fault.
Exactly. Můžete tam prdnout normálně, jo? Ohňovou hranu.
Oh, that's enough. Nearly got collaboration wrong there, Eddie.
Literally just as I was miscounting the bags, Brewmaster Adam Broch arrived to talk us through Budvar's almost unchanged brewing process. Perhaps seeing my mistake, he hurriedly removed me from the kettle area to somewhere that I couldn't mess up the brew, the vital decoction vessel.
What's great in this brewery, that's the unicity at each step, because you use the water from artesian wells, the very soft water, the most suitable for the Czech lager. Then the malt from Moravia area, specified in approximately 15 analytical parameters, especially for us, for the double decoction which is used here. And if you mash it together, if you mix it together, you mash in, you can see the mixture like this, meshing in vessel.
It's kind of hypnotic.
Yeah, and the smell of the mash, you can feel it from the vessel. That's a special smell of České Budějovice, of Budweis city, because if you go around, you always feel the smell of the brewery like this.
When we were on our way here, you could tell you were getting close to the brewery because suddenly the smell.
It's a good mark because if you feel it, the brewery is working. It's still alive.
So the decoction is like superheating that mash, raising the steps of the main mash.
What's important in decoction, that's the boil of mash. So you divide the brew into two parts. One is heated up to the mashing temperatures. It begins at 38, then 50, 65, 75. and the first mash, the part of the brew, is boiled at the end of the mashing. Then it is collected together with the second part of the mash in the second vessel, and the process is repeated again. That's the reason why two mash decoction.
Double, yeah.
And what's the result? That's the taste profile.
Yeah.
Because by the mashing, you create the tasteful and colorful compounds into the brew, and you set up the final taste profile, the ratios in the chemical way, the ratios between the small and larger molecules.
So why has decoction, because decoction happened all over the world, right, in so many brewing cultures, but most have left it behind. Why has it stayed in the Czech Republic? Is just the love of that flavor it creates?
Because we love the beer.
Right, okay.
There's really only one reason. You have no chance to make the same taste profile without this process. Many breweries skip the decoction or turn it in infusion or some energy less consuming ways, but the energy is vital to formate the taste.
You need that temperature at that stage to create it.
It's very similar if you if you cook the meal, it's necessary to heat it up because you are creating the flavor active compounds.
Caramelizations.
Definitely. Yeah. They are the reactions which are running during mashing.
Well, should we move on to the boil? Well, I was going to say the boil. This is boiling.
For us, it took 4 minutes to describe the decoction. Yeah. But the real time, they are 4 hours.
4 hours mashing and decocting.
Yeah, the nature is a bit slower. This kettle is heated by steam, and we heat up the sweet wort up to 100 degrees centigrade. The cones of the hops are added for 3 times. At first, when the bottom is covered. The second dose comes when there is so-called full kettle. It means when all the sweet wort is down in the wort kettle. And the third dose for the aroma especially is given half an hour before the end of boil.
Right.
So you can feel different smell here.
Yeah, very.
Because the hops starts working, and you can see the cones in it. This is at the beginning of the wort boiling, so the color is pale.
Yep.
After 90 minutes, the color turns into golden color.
Wow, so there's caramelization here as well.
And what's important, that's really to run these reactions and processes carefully and properly, because they are also formatting not only the color but the taste as well. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why the vessels are open. There is the atmospheric boil, because if you use different system, sometimes there are used systems with overpressure to save up energy and save up time. Every degree of the temperature, every degree centigrade is very important for the taste. So if you close it at the overpressure, you get another beer.
Right. Okay. So these doors, it's not just so that people can see in; it is literally changing the flavor of the beer by having the doors open or closed.
Yeah. And I think what's an absolute disaster if you, as a brewer, went that way, that you are trying to do slight changes, and you are testing if something is different or not. It's really the way to help, because
like lots of small changes, and suddenly your whole beer
small changes finally could produce really another beer, and after several small changes,
so you might not notice the doors closing.
You don't recognize the
doors
beer.
closing, hop goes in 5 minutes late, something, and suddenly it's different.
So that's the reason why, if there was new equipment installed in the brewery, we always tested in parallel the old and new equipment. I think that's the most obvious example is from the 90s of the last century, where the first cylinder conical vessels for main fermentation came into the brewery. It was in 1999, and we produced parallelly with the open fermentation vessels for 5 years to be sure.
Wow, 5 years of product testing to check it was the same.
That this way is the proper one. So after 5 years, the open vessels were replaced in 100%.
So it's a time scale that so many brewers can't even really conceive. Lots of them are younger than 5 years. I also like that you said the 90s of the last century, because you're old enough that you've had 2 90s.
So I think that's the traditional brewing and the lager brewing and the fine lager brewing. It's only for the very patient brewers. The patience is a kind of ingredient.
Well, tell me about the hops, because that's the aroma that's coming at me out of here.
Again, a very unique thing, because nowadays it's quite impossible to see the hop cones in bigger brewery.
The whole hops,
I'll show you. It's here behind. Because I always claim that the only way how to give 100% of important substances from hops into the beer is the form of hops, of real
100% of the hop.
Natural hops, Because if you prepare the pellets, nothing against. It's quite a nice way how to brew the beer. For example, if pellets T90, when from 100 kilos of hops, 90 kilos of pellets are prepared. But in this balance, you can feel that in the 10 kilos could be some interesting compound
part of Budvar's character.
For example, the polyphenols, which helps improve the body of the beer and definitely the drinkability. So the real cones is the only way for us, because fine aromazas hops is a special variety, not so bitter, with very mild bitterness and high aroma, and that's the way.
So that allows you to put lots of aroma in the beer without the bitterness getting out of balance with the sweetness.
From there we headed down to the hop storage area, which was once actually the malting floor. As we went down in the lift, everyone could smell the incredible aroma getting stronger and stronger. Everyone, that is, except Brad.
You can smell it even now. It's like an airlock for hop
aroma.
aroma.
Can you smell it, Brad, now? Still not? No. Give it 5 minutes, literally. It will work like a mint. 150 kilos, each of these ones. So this comes straight away from the city of Saas, or the Saas area. So we're using Saas hops in most of our beers. Back in the day, some of the growers from different countries, they try to replicate the Saas and sell it as a Czech Saas. So ever since that happened, many centuries ago, every of the bale that comes from the Saas area, it needs to have the seal. That it comes from there. So
it's not a mark of what the hop is, it's a mark of where it came from.
Yeah, it's sort of like a PGI. Geographical indication. So this is what we use. So it all comes in here. It's a massive space, so we're basically storing here each of the harvest for the upcoming year, plus minus one. So last year the harvest wasn't as great, but the year before the harvest was great. So actually we're having 2021 and 2022 that should get us through this year.
It must have been, it's a big relief that 2021 was a good year, because otherwise we'd be in real trouble for 20.
Pretty much. It hasn't happened here in those 127 years that we would run our hops.
Right.
But I'm not going to
don't jinx it.
Think about it. So this is how it works. So you basically take it out, and yeah, it's very compressed. So basically for all of it, we need to use the axe. So so literally just using the axe, and then you dose it into those bags, and each one of them is 20 kilos. So once it's brought up to the brew house, the person that operates the operator knows how many bags they need to put in, just like you did, in order to actually get the right dosage and get those alpha acids isomerized. So yeah, fairly simple, very effective. You know, you can see in the brewery, you're literally having, I'm going to put it aside. But you can see that there's...
I was nervous. I don't know about you people with him just holding it like that.
Yeah, so you're having lots of high tech.
Yeah.
So equipment around the brewery.
But then also just a big ass axe.
Because sometimes, you know, like the easiest things are, or the most simple things are the most efficient things. Yeah, so...
Well, yeah, you could buy a big machine that would do it for you.
Probably.
Or just have an axe. Yeah.
The biggest shame is that the only thing that you can transfer from here is the smell. So when you have a picture or video, you can transfer the smell. But literally 15 minutes in, your coats get soaked with that smell.
It's honey and licorice and pine and
a little bit of wheat in there as well.
Weediness. Yeah.
And some citrus.
It's potent. It's very heady.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I feel like you start to feel a bit woozy if you spend too much time here.
Let's
get woozy somewhere else. Is that what
exactly?
Okay, where's next? Somewhere else on the ground, I hope.
Welcome
to the best part of any brewery.
In the end.
And so we finally entered the hallowed century-old cellars of Budvar, with a glass in hand, ready to sample some 90-day aged beer.
So these are the lagering tanks. So these are the very first one. So we had two main periods when we changed the tanks. So this is the first version. So it's a steel with epoxy coated on the inside, and then we got the large stainless steel maturation tanks. So these ones will be somewhere between 150 to 250 hex. The large tanks will be somewhere between 3.2 to 3.7 thousand hectoliters.
And these came in when you stopped fermenting your oat. These came in. So that's 69.
69.
So we went to the moon the year that you put these in.
Yeah,
I think this was better. I don't know about you.
Who wants to go to the moon when you can
Who wants to go to the moon when you can just come to a cellar in Budweis?
All right, shall we have some over here?
Yeah, this one?
Yeah.
I was called into action once again, and not for the first time that day, completely failed to cover myself in glory.
So we drink the original, which is matured for 90 days. Don't bend it.
Well, stay tuned for the pouring section of this video.
There you go. That's ready. That's beautiful. So yeah, 90 days matured. Smash. Single malt, single hop.
Yeah, as the homebrewers would say, smash.
Yeah.
And I'd smash it. It's fine bubbles, bready, brioche, honeyed, malt character, lovely herbal kind of hedgerow kind of thing, and then
citrusy.
Just citrusy as well, and then little hints of, again, like kind of citrusy, like green apple, little kind of fermentation hints to it as well. It's just gloriously complex, but incredibly drinkable.
This one is just about that's 3 months.
You know what you have to do to package these beers. It is just incredible to have it just straight out of the tank. There's no other style of beer that is better out the tank than lager is. Like,
true.
It's a style that's named after the tanks they were in, pretty much. So,
lagering to store.
Yeah, it's just, fresh bread out the oven. Good. It's just nothing beats it.
Okay, one more treat for you.
One more treat.
Just one.
So these cellars, these were dug, because there's some pretty old paving stones out there. Are they originals from where these cellars would have been dug?
So these cellars were here since 1895.
Right.
Yeah, so it's the same original cellars.
So the gutter, maybe not these gutters, but the bigger gutters out there would have been for the ice melt and...
Ice melting, yeah. So it was brought in, and the air would be recirculated to keep the temperature at 2 degrees that we're having here. Today it's artificial. But again, the fact that we are actually under the ground helps it a lot.
Yeah, it means you don't have to do so much.
So, in general, that the lagering hasn't changed ever since the brewery started. It's still
90
the
days
same.
from start to finish.
Yeah, 90 days from start to finish.
Which
two degrees.
I mean, this seems really simple to say, but you say 90 days and you think, oh, that's not that much, but that's a third of the year.
That's a third of the year.
Yeah.
That's 7 times longer than most of the breweries do these days as well. So if you compare it to some of those mass-produced lagers that stay in a tank less than a week or take less than a week from start to finish, 90 days is a long period. And you also need to consider that fact that it takes 90 days before you can make any profit. Yeah, so from like a business case perspective, it's not very efficient, right?
Yep.
But do you know why we can afford it?
No, sheer volume.
We are state volume.
Yeah.
State volume.
State owned. Yeah, sorry, I confused you there. State owned.
You said the volume, I was like state volume. Yeah, so we are state owned. So yeah, we still prioritize the quality over profit, which like in most of the business cases, it would be suicidal, right?
Next, we headed down another line of steel fermenters in search of one filled with Budvar's dark lager.
Getting better on your pours.
What? I think the tank decides this, not me. But I did nail that.
It's all right. That's 3 of your fingers.
Cold cocoa is what you said,
Cold cocoa.
and that is about right. Cold
Wow.
cocoa.
But the aroma is there as well.
And that kind of licoricey thing from the SARS, which wasn't so much in the pale lagers, but in this. Tamavy is like the dark lager to the Svetli.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the process is the same. So basically, it goes through the same process of the decoction. Funny enough, the decoction takes same long time as with the pale lager. Surprisingly, we haven't found any differences having those 20 minutes boil on the dark malts. Some of the literature would tell you, oh, you need to cut down the time by 50%.
Because you'll extract astringency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do you get any astringency?
No, none at all. So is the 90 days, is that set? If you tasted it at 89 and it was right?
90 days is a benchmark. It's
Right.
a benchmark, yeah. So sometimes the beer is great around day 85.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it takes 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about maturation, maturation is still done by the yeast, and yeast is a living organism. So you can dictate yeast. Oh, and you need to dry it in 90 days. So it's a living organism, and it's all controlled by the experience of the production team. So they go around and they taste it. And they say, well, does it need to be lagered for a little bit more, or is it ready to be packaged? As simple as it gets.
Yeah. And their sensory analysis of that is what we're doing here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The brewers probably pour it better than Brad does, though.
Well, you're not milking a cow, what are you?
Hello, dark one.
With a dark one in our hands, we started the search for the final beer Radim wanted us to try, one that he'd been teasing ever since we got down into the cellars. Our interest was further piqued when other people from the brewery tagged along with our little expedition, including tour guide and former quality control manager Hoster, and found at the tap itself, Adam.
One for the picture.
The reason for this excitement was that we were about to try a very special version of Budvar Reserve, one so special that despite being brewed every year, has never made it outside of the cellars.
Alcohol content 7.5. 7.5. You can most Agnus. You can
Hopped with most.
tap the beer most.
So which hop was must? What am I expecting?
So I think I was a cross between SARS and even just still like some of those new varieties bred with SARS.
Bordering on Mliko.
A friend of mine very liked this beer, and he told me, I like to lie here and die.
It would be a good way to go. Lovely, smooth, big bitterness, licoricey kind of vibes. Caramel kind of notes. Bitter caramel, it's lovely.
All fresh hops as well.
It's all fresh hops.
So green hops.
Because I thought there was like almost like a tannin to it almost, which you can get from green hops.
Green cones.
Yeah.
After the moss hopped version, we tried a wet hop SARS edition that was, if possible, even better, and laced with strawberry, rosewater, and freshly baked brioche notes. It truly is one of the best beers we have ever tasted, and left us speechless at the end of the tour. There's still more to see though, so join us next week for an in-depth interview with Brewmaster Adam and a masterclass in pouring beer with Redeem.